Your brain is releasing dopamine every time you open the news. Not because you love suffering, because threat detection feels like a reward. You are not broken. You are running an ancient piece of software on a modern machine, and that software is being hacked. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why. Think about this morning. Before coffee, before conversation, before your feet even hit the floor, you probably checked your phone. And if something bad was happening in the world, you kept reading. Not because you wanted to feel worse, because some part of your brain convinced you that staying informed was the same as staying safe. And here's the number that stopped me when I first read it. The American Psychological Association found that more than half of Americans say the news is a significant source of stress in their lives. But the same people say they feel compelled to keep checking. That tension between stress and compulsion is exactly what we are here to unpack. So let's start with what your brain is actually doing. Deep inside the brain, there's a structure called the amygdala. Think of it as your threat radar. It is scanning constantly for anything that could hurt you. Now here's the key thing. The amygdala does not care whether the threat is a lion chasing you or a headline about economic collapse. To your nervous system, a perceived threat triggers the same response. Psychologist Roy Baumeister published a landmark paper in 2001 called "Bad is Stronger Than Good." His research showed that negative events have roughly 2 to 3 times more psychological impact than equally positive ones. So your brain does not treat a scary headline and a heartwarming story the same way. It weights the scary one heavier every single time. That is not a bug. That is the design. Neuroscientist Tali Sharot at University College London has studied exactly how the brain handles threatening information. She describes it this way. When something bad might happen, your brain allocates more cognitive resources to it, more attention, more memory, more processing power. The negative gets the premium seat. Here is what that looks like in practice. When you see a positive story, say a community fundraiser that smashed its goal, your brain registers it, maybe smiles, moves on. When you see a negative story, say a report about rising crime or a health scare, your brain zooms in. It wants more detail. It wants to understand the threat. That is your negativity bias doing exactly what it evolved to do. But here's the part that changed how I think about this entirely. Negativity bias is not just about attention, it's about reward, and that's where dopamine comes in. But here is what most people get wrong. We think of negativity bias as a passive thing, like your brain just notices bad stuff more. But it is not passive at all. Your brain is actively seeking threat information, and every time it finds something threatening, it gets a dopamine hit. Not a pleasure hit, a reward hit. There's a difference, and it matters enormously. Here's the loop your brain runs, probably dozens of times a day. Step 1, you feel a low-level sense of unease. Something feels unresolved. Step 2, you reach for your phone. Step 3, you find a threatening headline. Step 4, your amygdala fires and dopamine is released. The unease decreases temporarily. Step 5, within minutes, unease returns, often stronger. Step 6, you reach for your phone again. According to Dr. Anna Lempke at Stanford, this is the same neurological architecture as substance use disorder, and modern media knows this loop exists. Social platforms and news apps are engineered around it. First, they use variable reward schedules, the exact same mechanism that makes slot machines addictive. You never know if the next scroll will bring relief or more dread. Second, they optimize for emotional activation. Angry, scared, or outraged content spreads faster, so the algorithm promotes it. Third, they remove natural stopping points. There is no end to the feed, no closing time, just an infinite loop of threat and partial relief. Think about what your brain evolved to handle. In our ancestral environment, a threat was local and immediate. A predator, a rival, a drought. You gathered information, you responded, the threat resolved. Compare that to today. The threats on your newsfeed are global, ongoing, and mostly unresolvable by you personally. Your brain is trying to process existential threats the same way it would handle a snake in the grass. No wonder it never feels like enough. And here is the twist inside the twist. The more bad news you consume, the more sensitive your threat radar becomes. Your baseline for what counts as dangerous shifts upward. You need more stimulation just to feel the same sense of resolution. The loop tightens. So what do you actually do about this? Because I want to be clear, the goal is not to become uninformed or to pretend the world is fine. The goal is to break the loop without breaking your connection to reality. And there are specific, evidence-backed ways to do exactly that. Step 1. Scheduled consumption. Instead of checking news whenever anxiety spikes, set 2 fixed windows, say 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. University of Sussex psychologist Graham Davey, who has studied news anxiety extensively, found that structured news habits significantly reduce stress without leaving people feeling uninformed. Give your brain the information on your terms, not the algorithms. Step 2. Name the loop. When you feel that pull to check, pause for just a second. Say to yourself, my threat radar is firing. Not a command, not the truth, just a signal. Research on media consumption and anxiety consistently backs this approach. Studies show that people who shift from reactive, on-demand news checking to scheduled windows report meaningful drops in anxiety without feeling less informed about the world. And that second part matters, because the fear people have is that if they step back, they will miss something critical. The research says they do not. What they gain is a sense of control, and that sense of agency is itself a tool for regulating the dopamine loop. Step 3. Replace the loop with a different resolution. Remember, the dopamine hit from threat scanning is really about resolution. Your brain wants to move from uncertain to certain. You can give it that feeling through other means: a short walk, a conversation, even writing down what you are worried about on paper. Dr. Lemke calls this substitution. You are not removing the reward, you are changing the source. You are giving your ancient brain a modern resolution. Roy Baumeister, whose paper we looked at earlier, wrote something I keep coming back to. He said, the greater power of bad events over good ones is an adaptive feature, not a flaw. Your brain is not betraying you. It is protecting you with outdated instructions. That is a very different story than the one most of us tell ourselves. Remember where we started. Your brain releases dopamine when it finds a threat, not because it wants you to suffer, because it is trying to keep you alive using a system that was built for a very different world. You are not addicted to bad news. You are running ancient survival code inside a 24-hour threat simulation. Now you know how to step outside it. If this changed how you think about your attention, the video on why your brain resists change goes even deeper into the dopamine system. Drop a comment with how many times you checked the news today. And if this was useful, subscribing takes 2 seconds.